In this video, we'll work through exercise 3.1.1 from the textbook. We have the code here, and what we want to do is split that into tokens. And we're going to use kind of the guidelines, the 5 classes of tokens given in the book on page 112 to do this. So let's go ahead and start. So we'll first look at float. The lexical analyzer looks at that, and it's a keyword. So we're going to have a token called float. And we don't need an attribute value there because there's nothing to store. So this is going to be a lot like an if token, right? Because it's just the characters if with the lexeme if or else. Just a keyword like that. Okay, so now we get to something more interesting. Limited square. That is an identifier. It's an identifier of a function name. And so we're going to have, as we can see over, let's see here, one token representing all identifiers. And we're going to do what they do in that example, ID. We're going to call it ID. So it's an ID, but it's going to have a value. And for right now, let's just make it the lexeme. So limited square. Okay, now we have an open paren, and that's going to match this. Tokens for each punctuation symbol, such as left and right parentheses. Again, we don't need an attribute value. And we have an X. That is going to be another identifier. ID, and with string X as the attribute value. Then we have another, well, let's do the close paren here. And we have another float keyword, another identifier, X. And we have a semicolon, open brace. Okay, so now we have a forward slash followed by a star followed by all this comment. Okay, and so we have a choice here, and generally what we're going to do is we want to throw away the comment. We don't want to store it as a token, and so that's exactly what most lexical analyzers are going to do. They're going to scan the entire comment and throw it away, and we're going to ignore it. And so we don't even have a token. You notice here on the 5 classes of tokens, there's not a class of token for comments because we don't need to store those. Okay, so continuing on, we have a return, which is a keyword. So it gets its own token. Open paren. Identifier. It's an X. Okay, so now we have an operator. And we are going to, let's see, over in the classes, I think there's, yeah, right here, tokens for the operators. And so this could be a comparison operator. We could just treat it as an operator itself. But what I think we'll do here in this example, just for fun, is we'll call it a comparison. And for the attribute value, we'll give it what type of comparison it is. And we could store that either as like an enumerated type or as the string literal of the, or as the lexeme itself. Okay, our next one is a number, which is going to be a constant. So we'll call that constant, or let's call it number, to match this right here, what they're doing here. All right, so it's a number, and we're going to store as the attribute value the actual number. Then we have an operator, which is an OR. Then an ID, X, comparison, greater than or equal to, another number literal or number constant, which is 10. An operator, question mark, another number, 100. An operator, colon, and a identifier, x, operator, star, identifier x, and a punctuation symbol, semicolon.